The show. My name is Conrad, and how are you, buddy? Today is June 8th, 2022, the year of our Lord. You know what that means? It's June 8th. It means that we are rapidly approaching not only the beginning of summer, the official beginning of summer, but also, your second quarter taxes are due if you pay quarterly. So that's the 15th, guys. I know you don't come here for your tax advice. You know what I mean? But maybe some of you should, dude, including, can we give just a quick shout out to friends of the show, longtime listeners, the Chrisleys. The Chrisleys are in trouble um, with the government, really, because they were embezzling money. They were inflating their wealth in order to procure loans from banks and then not paying them back and filing bankruptcy on the millions of dollars that they duped from these banks. So they're going to go to jail. And I kind of think that maybe that's okay. That's okay. I think that maybe that fellow that was the husband in that situation, he might enjoy it. There's aspects of jail that I think that Todd Chrisley would enjoy. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, just Google it, Todd Chrisley, and you'll understand what I'm saying. But they're in trouble, dude. And so Joe Exotic will be getting a new roommate very soon. Shout out to Joe. So I'm back. I'm back in Oklahoma in the shed, and it feels good, except for if you hear the noise, it's not white noise in the background. I mean, I guess technically it is that, but it is raining here in Prague, Oklahoma today, and I'm in a tin roof shack on my back. I think I own a tenth of an acre, probably. So and maybe even smaller than that. And on the very back of my property, it's about 15 steps from my back door is where my shack is. And so I walked through the rain to get here, not bragging or anything, but I can't do anything about the sound as far as the rain. I've told you guys for a long time, if I could control the rain, I wouldn't be doing a podcast. I wouldn't be trying to do this. Or if I was doing a podcast, it'd be badass, because I would just make it rain if you guys didn't like it. So anyways, that's the noise you're hearing. And it feels good to be in the comfort of my shack. It does. After a long weekend, unexpected trip to Kansas City, but a much needed, sometimes it's good to do that stuff and get to hang out with people that you really enjoy. And my uncle is definitely that to me. And so the kids had a great time. We went to, I didn't talk about this over the past couple days, but not only did we go to Bob Evans to have biscuits and gravy yesterday, and Bob Evans is a legendary restaurant on Those Guys from Wichita. It's been talked about many times in the horrible experiences that not only I have had, but Casey has had. And anybody that's ever went to a Bob Evans has had a bad experience, whether it be ordering something and never getting it, or standing in the foyer waiting to be seated while empty tables are scattered throughout the restaurant, or even as simple as ordering biscuits and gravy and just getting biscuits, and looking at a person and saying, you really think I just wanted biscuits? You know what I mean? Like, and then them being dumbfounded. Oh yeah, we forgot your gravy. Like, yeah, that would be good. So I can't say that about this trip. It was fine. It was a decent trip to Bob Evans. So we did that yesterday morning before we took off after the show. But what I really wanted to talk about was in Kansas City, Kansas. There is a beautiful, over the past 20 years, they've done a terrific job of, I guess the word is gentrifying the area. You know what I mean? The word is cleaning up maybe neglect and poverty, and using rich investors' monies to procure property based on eminent domain, and then those people lining their pockets with more money while forcing out the trash that was there. And by trash, in their mind, the people that were living there, forced them out of their area, built these beautiful outdoor shopping malls and restaurants and stuff, and created like a little utopia of commerce and retail and eating. And it's nice, dude, if you if you're the kind of person that when those shoes come out that have or I guess there were socks that had the toes that were built into them. I think they made the shoes too that had the toes that were built into them. You would love Legends. You would love the outdoor mall. If you're the kind of person that rides around on one of those e-scooters, you would love the outdoor mall. It's set up for people like that. And so every once in a while, when we go up there, usually one time a trip, we'll go over to this area called Legends, and there's a beautiful minor league baseball team that plays within this compound. There's dozens of restaurants. There's shopping, outlet shopping. There's a soccer team for some reason that is there, in a soccer stadium. So they got it all, basically. They got it all. And so we'll put on our best work jeans and, run a comb through our hair and go hand in hand skipping through Legends as if we belong at least once a vacation or once a trip up to Kansas City. And oftentimes we'll walk over to Nebraska Furniture Mart and just go get a free massage in the massage chairs, or, maybe go into Cabela's and, look at the gun section and be like, oh, how much for that? Let me see that one. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna go apply for a credit card. I'll be right back. And, then just leave. But one of the places we always like to stop at is a restaurant called The Yard, which is a chain. It's a chain restaurant. It's basically it's a modern Applebee's. So imagine Applebee's, but got a makeover. An Applebee's that had somebody from HGTV come over and make it over. Food's probably the same. I mean, it's good, but it's nothing special. And but every day they have happy hour for half price appetizers. And so included on that list is pizzas. So you can get, 3 or 4 pizzas. I think we got some, I don't remember, some nachos and some, what is it? It's not, might be sushi. I don't think it's sushi. It's like a different kind of raw fish that they cut into slices. It might just be, it's tuna, but not canned. You know what I mean? It's a uncanned tuna. We'll have that. And, for 5 of us filling up, having a couple beers at a happy hour, you can get in there for about $60. So it isn't bad. And so we ate there. It was fun. It always is. And they had those little screens that are meant to replace waiters. You know what I mean? You could order on your screen so we don't have to have these waiters here. You know what I mean? Why pay them when a robot can do it? So they also have games on those. So the kids sit there and play trivia, and the adults get drunk, basically. And then you go walk around and try to walk it off before you get in your car and you drive your family home, is the idea of these places. So we were, I think I got a Guinness. The supply shortage, they didn't have any other stouts, so that was pretty frustrating. But I got a Guinness, and there's never you can't have a bad Guinness. So, and then we took off to kind of, you know, get our post appetizer steps in after that, and we walked around the mall. Now I don't have any money to buy anything, but it's fun basically being a window licker. Quite literally, even a couple of the stores that were there, my kids would press their face up against and make funny faces to the people inside that do have money, that are wasting their money on that stuff. And so it's fun. But one of the things I was noticing, dude, was there was a tremendous, and it might be the area, it might be the time of year, it might have been, it was a beautiful day, but there was a tremendous amount of um, Indian Indian people there, people from India there. And I don't know if there was a conference. I know there was a soccer game like the day before, but I don't think that was related to it. Um, could have been. It just seems like they they all had just a number of. They weren't there to window lick like we were. They were there to shop. They were there to buy some stuff, dude. And they already looked good. They all were, their drip was lit, dude. They were looking good. They were looking tight. And so I guess that's how you look that way, is you have to go and buy the stuff. But even though they were dressed to the nines, they were still buying more stuff to put on. You know what I mean? And one of the forgotten pleasures of this country is people watching. It used to be, before you could get lost in your phone, that didn't exist. So you would find a bench and you would just sit there and watch the surroundings, watch what people are doing around you. And, so my daughter wanted to get ice cream after we ate. What 7-year-old girl doesn't? And it was a beautiful day, and it's like, okay, yeah, if you're good, we'll go get you a scoop of ice cream at one of these little shops that charge you $10 for a scoop of ice cream. And walk out, and they're right, of course, right there is Shannon's favorite place, Cold Stone Creamery, where I think he met his wife. I think he met his wife at a Cold Stone Creamery. So it's a real special place for him. I think actually he is thinking about, he's talked about it on our other show, the OK Taco Show. He's talked about, for their 20th anniversary, maybe renewing the vows, doing that sometime. And I think they're planning on doing that at a Cold Stone Creamery. So I told my daughter, well, there it is. It's right there. We can go in there. We can go take a little walkabout and hit it on the way out. And so she's like, well, let's go walk around. And so we went over. There's a big fountain there where poor people will throw what little change they have left into it to wish to be not poor anymore. And my kids were kind of scraping some of that change off the bottom of the fountain. And then we decided, well, let's go over to the end of the mall. And as we were walking, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, would you rather have ice cream or yogurt? There's a frozen yogurt place right there. And she was like, yo, I want to do that one. I think it just because just the storefront look. Cold Stone Creamery is more classically romantic, which is probably why Shannon was so into it 20 years ago. That's why it was a good place to propose and a good place to meet a wife. But my daughter, she liked the more modern look of the frozen yogurt place. So, by the way, if I get sucked up in this storm, I do have life insurance, and I think my wife's the beneficiary, so you know, she should be able to pay off her debt with that money and live a pretty decent life here in Oklahoma. And probably there should be enough money left over that she'll be able to find a new man. So don't worry about me broadcasting within this thunderstorm. I'll be fine. And if I'm not, it's actually better for my family. So I apologize for the sound though. So they walk into the frozen yogurt stand place, and there's a beautiful bench in like a little park area, Forrest Gump type of bench, and I sat down and I was doing the move that you do, cross the legs, dude. I threw one leg over a knee, put both my arms back on the bench, and it's just like people walking by like, who is that? Just enjoying their day, you know? And it was me. I was just letting all that non-canned tuna process, you know, letting the pizza and the tuna mix together in my stomach, a good mixture, and just watching people walk by. That's what I noticed. There was a group of somebody referred to them as gas station owners, which I thought was, to me, that's on the verge of, you know, if not racist, it's stereotypical, you know what I mean? Like, but a group of Indian people, like I said, that were out and about that day, that walked right by me, and they were speaking Indian, I guess, and so I couldn't understand what they were saying, but they seemed like they were having a great time. And it was like there's like five. They were adults, no children, and I guess the best TV show reference that I can use to describe what it felt like to watch them was as if I was watching a episode of Friends in India. Like if all of the people from Friends were Indian people, the TV show Friends, if you don't know what I'm talking to. But if all of those people, Jennifer Aniston was Indian, and whoever else is in that show was Indian, then that's what it was like for me when I was watching these people. It's like, I'll be there for you. And then like jingle, ding dong, ding dong. And they're just having a good time. They were shopping. They had all of their arms were full of products that they had just bought. And they walked by me, and, you know, we gave our obligatory head, hey, how you doing? There you go. You know, there you go. You're Indian. I'm not. And, you know, but we're all having a good day, you know, that kind of thing. And they continued walking, and the whole group walked by the door of the frozen yogurt as if like our arms were full, not even noticing it. But one straggler, one guy that was a little bit, he noticed the sign. What, yogurt? and he said something in his language, you know, he said something in his Indian language, like, guys, dog, yogurt. And it's like all of them looked up, and it clicked in their, holy crap, that's yogurt. That's a yogurt stand. And dude, once they realized, they filed in there and loaded up. And I was just smiling because, you know, it goes back a long time, but those people just, for whatever reason, different countries like different things. And India, it's yogurt, buddy. If you got, you know, they'll make that pita. You're like, what do you want on there? And pita is basically just a thicker taco, dude. And just some steak or some beef, and that'd be pretty good. Cheese, you know. But if you go to India, they'll yogurt. You want yogurt on there? It comes with yogurt. It's like, no, I don't want your yogurt. No, yogurt. And so they noticed that this was a non-pita yogurt factory, and they walked in, and I'm sure they just had the time of their lives in there. But there's nothing. My family's in there. It has nothing to do with. I think this is funny. I think it's funny that some things are irresistible to people. You know what I mean? Like there's countries apparently that delicacies are strange, dude. Like there's countries that eat snake faces. There's countries that eat dogs. There's a country that's eating a dog right now. You know what I mean? Like that's preparing. Oh, we got family coming over tonight, so I think we're gonna do dog. You know, they're having that, and the kids are like, "Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, that's good." You know, there's countries that are just carving up like an elephant's toe to put into. It makes a good elephant toe broth. You know, and it's just weird because you live in a bubble of your surroundings. We all do, and including them. They live in their bubble, and when you mix the bubbles, when you open an outdoor mall and you allow all bubbles to come, it's real fun because the reasons that people go into different places are different, but they all go. So maybe it's to try something new. Maybe it's, but maybe it's just a taste of the old country. Oh, yogurt, get a pita out of your bag. Let's squirt some on there. So anyways, that was a tremendous, I just like people watching. I enjoy, I think that's why I wish that reality TV, I wish that it was actually, I think that's why I liked Love on the Spectrum so much, because you can't stage people that were on the spectrum. That is actually reality TV. So you get to observe these beautiful people and their habits and their way of speaking and their what they think is funny or interesting, or what drives them, or what they want out of a relationship in that context, or whatever. But they're not being fed fake lines like the other reality TV shows, like the Todd Chrisleys and the whatever. They're even Real World, or that one that when they're one where you could watch them 24/7, like you could watch them all the time. I forget what that was. Oh, maybe Big Brother. And then they did Big Brother After Dark, where those people, you just watch them live in their life. I think it was a Showtime series. And of course, that come out at a time when I was, in my early 20s. And so you would watch that Showtime After Dark and hope that you would see these people, but it never showed anything. It never showed anything nudity wise. Maybe it did for other people, but you'd sit there and watch it for like 8 hours hoping that the bikini would fall off, and it never did. So that's why I stopped watching Showtime. But anyways, I like people watching. I wish that there was a program. Here's a fun thing to do, and I've done this before by accident, and it's much like sitting at an outdoor mall. And I don't know if it still exists, but maybe 10 years ago or something, there was this new cruise ship that was being built by Royal Caribbean, which is a cruise company that's based in the Caribbean. And I think they're related somehow to the Crown or something. But anyways, they built the biggest ship in the world. And it was called like Oasis of the Seas, or, it doesn't matter. They have they all have names like housing developments, Oasis or Tranquility or whatever. Which, if anybody ever names something like that, you should be warned that as an experience, when you go onto it, it will not be what the name is. So if it's named Oasis, it's not an Oasis. It's 3,700 obese people clawing at each other to either win in slot machines or to get a free buffet, dude. Like, that's what an Oasis is in the context of being on the sea or on a ship. So just be warned. But when that come out, it was at a time where I was like, man, maybe my wife and I could go on a cruise. And so I went to Royal Caribbean's website, and there was an ability to actually watch. You could log into their ship and you could watch a feed of what was going on the ship. And it was just like in a bird's nest in their mall area or on the deck, or they had a few different options. And you could sit there at home, in Kansas or in Oklahoma, and you could sit there and watch these people that are having a terrific vacation on the Oasis of the Seas. And, when I was doing that research, thinking like, can we go on a cruise, and realizing that it's out of our price range, I noticed that I could live stream people that were on a cruise. And I realized that that was all I wanted anyways, was just to sit there and watch these waterheads walk around this cruise ship, stuck on an island, basically. And so that was fun. And that's reality TV for me. And I wish that it would come back that way. I wish that there was a program that just, even, we know that people are spying on us, dude. We know that people are, whether it's companies or the government or other governments or whatever, and we've given them permission to. We've told Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and because we don't read the terms of service, we don't do any of that stuff. We just say, yeah, of course I want to keep this application. How else will I know, what the latest fitness sportswear looks like? How else will I know that? So you just say yes, and then they gain access to your pictures and your audio recordings and your telephone calls and your text messages, and they spy on you. But if we're all going to allow that, there should be some sort of TV company, some sort of streaming service or whatever that starts a channel where it just taps into people. You could just pick a region of the world and tap into people's cell phones or whatever and watch what's going on in their life as it's happening. You know what I mean? Like tap into, and everybody, you just watch it. And that could be me. That could be my computer. Somebody could click me and watch my stuff, that would be pretty cool, I think. I mean, clearly it's the person that you would be watching may not know that they're being broadcast at that time, but that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. That's what makes it compelling TV. That's what made watching that cruise ship deck so fun, is that, you're watching a person that's thinking about getting into the water, that's dipping their toe in the water. It's like, well, no, I just ate, I'll cramp up. But yeah, maybe I'll just put my feet in, they sit down, do that move where they kick their feet. Like the bottom half of me is swimming, and that's fun for me. And that's what sitting at the outdoor mall was like. So I don't know. I probably won't watch that tonight though. Netflix called me this morning and they told me they have a new documentary that is out today, the 8th of June. And if you don't know, I encourage you to consider subscribing to Conradio, which is not only shed shows where we broadcast during thunderstorms in a shed, it is also home of the OK Taco Company, where my cousin and I get into a 1996 GMC truck with a topper on it to keep everything dry, and we pull a 1977 Airstream that has a bunch of decals on the side that says Taco Company, OK Taco Company. And we go sell tacos to towns all over Oklahoma. But on the way there, we'll do a show. Or on the way home, we'll do a show. And so Conradio does the OK Taco Company shows. And Conradio also does Those Guys from Wichita, which is a show with about 6 waterheads on it, including myself. And it's a silly show, it's much like this, but then 6 other people talking, usually at the same time. So it's fun, and we've been doing that for about 10 years. So I encourage you to listen to the other projects that we do. And you can find all those on iTunes or Spotify on Conradio. Or if you're a real good listener, you can go to Patreon and not only have access to all those shows, but any bonus content that we put out for any of those shows. So it's $5 a month, which I don't know if that's a lot or not a lot. It's less than a gallon of gas for hours of conversation. So consider it. Even if you don't like it, even if you don't like listening, it does help support this waterhead's dream. So consider it. But if you're not going to be listening to Conradio tonight, what you can do is take the advice that Netflix gave me, and that on the OK Taco Show, Shannon and I talk about all the time, which is a documentary. You can watch a documentary. And they're having one about the Church of Latter-day Saints that just come out today, about this guy named Jeff, who was the head pastor of the Church of Latter-day Saints in Utah. And he got in trouble a few years back because he had like a bunch of wives, and even though he was a man of older age, he was marrying girls that were like 15 and 12. So real sick dude. But also, I guess the interesting part about the documentary is that even though this dude's in prison for the rest of his life, the members of that church still consider him to be the leader of the church and think that he shouldn't be incarcerated, and think that his marriage to these girls was God's will. You know, that God was using this guy, that this Jeff guy was the embodiment of God. And so they're waiting for the rapture, and then thinking that that will be when Jeff gets out of prison too. So I haven't watched it yet. I just, like I said, Netflix called me this morning and told me about it. I'm excited to watch it though. I love cult documentaries. I love secret societies, dude. I love the fact that secret societies exist still and have existed for a long time. You know, on the OK Taco Show, we stumbled upon the Oddfellows a few months ago, and we wanted to become an Oddfellow. We still haven't sent in our applications, but by discovering that, one of the listeners of our show had mentioned that his grandfather was an Oddfellow and a Mason, you know, and so these are all secret societies that were based in the United States and then became worldwide societies that people go through their whole lives doing them. They go to barbecues, you know what I mean? They go to, they'll meet at an outdoor mall and do something like a flash dance or something. It just depends which one you're in, really. So I've always thought that becoming a part of the Oddfellows, or becoming a leader of the Oddfellow, or just maybe that's not me. Maybe I should be looking into other ones, or maybe I should have to start my own. Maybe, you know, the Never Will Be's will be, which is, you know, what this show is. It's just a bunch of people that never will be anything that do this show. And so we're the Never Will Be's. But I know there's a lot of people out there that feel that way. Maybe we create our own society. We create our own secret cult, you know. And of course, if you do that, you run the risk of getting into you got to be careful, because even Jonestown started great. Jonestown started as a commune of like-minded individuals, that a self-sustaining society kind of thing, live off the land, help each other out, but they always end up in some sort of perversion in some way. And so the only way you can keep members in is to have a little bit of that threat, but it's a balance. It's a fine line. And so even if we started our own, we would have to get some guidelines in order to put some of that in there, to put some of that risk of, you know, perversion within the guidelines, but also keep it in a way that doesn't get out of hand. Because it seems like these things always start great, but then, you know, things start getting out of hand. Then ultimately you drink the Kool-Aid, or you become those you put on Nikes and become those Heaven's Gates people that died with a bunch of Nikes on. I don't know if you've ever seen that. They all wore the same shoes and died. And they dressed like ghosts and put Nikes on and laid in cots and died. somehow. I don't know if it was CO2 or Kool-Aid, but carbon monoxide maybe. I forget. I'll have to revisit that one. Or maybe you go into, the Nexium type of cult where it was more business related, like high functioning. You become a member of this to be more high functioning, to get more out of life, to succeed in your career, to pick the right career. That's a lot like the L. Ron Hubbard guy, not the cookie maker, the guy that made the cult. I think that Tom Cruise, whatever that's called, Scientology, that's a lot like that. It's about, leveling up in life, in your career, in your faith, in your family. And as you continue to level up, eventually, you go clear in that cult. But at some point at one of the levels, after you go through the tube in the dungeon, and you level up in one of those tubes, one of those levels is like, do perverted things. It always happens. And so you got to be careful with that. And I don't know about this Church of Latter-day Saints. I've always liked their outfits, their costumes, very, what's that movie I like so bad where the guy that's had the bad day and then wants to order breakfast, but it's a little bit late, with Michael Douglas. They dress like Michael Douglas from Falling Down is the Latter-day Saints costumes. I've always liked that costume. Like a short sleeve button up with a tie, pocket protector. That's a Latter-day Saint. It's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to watching that tonight, and looking forward to maybe starting the Never Will Be's as its own cult, as its own cult. Gets a bad name. Maybe you call it something different. Club. People get away with club a lot, like the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. It sounds, you get it mixed up. Is that, are you part of Mickey Mouse Club? Isn't that what you said? And you're like, oh, no, not Mickey Mouse, Hells Angels. And people are like, oh, yeah. But it doesn't, if you tell people you're part of Nexium, that sounds like, really? Skincare? But if you are part of the Nexium Club, oh, okay, cool. So club makes it sound not only, it makes the exclusivity of it seem more inclusive, if that makes any sense. I don't know. So I got to get some paperwork or something drawn up to move forward with that. And those are just, I think everybody at some point in their life wants to be the leader of a cult or just kind of manipulation of the mind. So I know that I'm not on my own in that fantasy, where it'd be pretty cool to make up your own dance. You make up what are we doing Thursday? Oh, that's when we do the hoedown. You know what I mean? And people show up with like acoustic guitars, and we dance around solo stoves and throw frickin' peaches at each other. And people that it's their first day, they're like, what are you doing? But by the third song, they're right there with you. And that's when you manipulated them, dude. That's when they're part of the club. And that's fun. So I don't know how long it takes to get that going. But I'll start working on it. There was some bad news. They're looking for, if you see this person, they're offering $5,000 for this woman out of Texas. There was a love triangle, dude, which is the worst kind of triangle. And there was a professional bicyclist that fell in love with a yoga instructor from New York City. And this guy was down in Texas. And they started kissing, and they started being lovely with each other. But he went back to Texas, and he had found another fitness instructor that he liked too. Well, that you don't, one thing you never do to somebody that is into yoga is betray them. Freaking yoga, if you got a yoga instructor, you'd never betray a yoga instructor ever, because those people are connected with that part of the brain, that connects with the nature, dude, and they take it personal. And so this woman put a diaper on and drove down to Dallas or something and ended up shooting the other girl in the triangle, the other point in the triangle. She shot her dead in Texas. And so now the Texas Marshals, the Walker Texas Rangers and the U.S. Marshals are after her, because at first they questioned her and said, hey, there's a dead person here. Did you do it? And she said no, which was smart. But come to find out, security camera footage, because apparently this hotel had some of that TV I was talking about earlier, had noticed that this woman's car was there at the time of the murder, and it was the only one in, she's clearly the lead suspect. They tried to find her again because she got on a plane and went back to damn New York City. Well, once she got to New York, she said screw it and left again. They think so. They're looking for her. If you see her, you got to let the U.S. Marshals know. They're offering $5,000 for first-degree murder. It's like, somebody better tell the U.S. Marshals about inflation. $5,000 for a first-degree murder seems low. If you know somebody committed a crime as egregious as a first-degree murder, you probably want to up the reward to try to incentivize people from looking up from their $1,000 phones to try to scan the outdoor mall for this woman, But I don't know. I don't. If you look at the photos of it, let me get their names for you. Texas yoga instructor wanted. Yeah, I got a link here. If you look at the photos of it, this woman looks like every woman that is white in her late 20s. So she'll be wearing yoga pants. She has auburn brown hair, and she's in shape. By the way, she looks exactly like the person she killed. So what I would do is probably, maybe see if she didn't do that steal an identity thing. She looks exactly like it. She started with the girl in the mirror, it looked like. So anyways, one thing I like to do, and I did not get to do it yesterday, is I got a game for you guys. Not really a game. It's just kind of a fun thing to do. And if you want to comment on Podbean, I'll read the comments at the end of the show. It's a kind of a new thing we're doing. So if you want to comment, that's fine. Say whatever you want, and then I'll read it. And if I won't. I mean, if I don't like what you said, I probably won't read it, or maybe I will. But I'll get to that here in a moment. But what I'm going to do right now is go to a website that we've all heard of called Rotten Tomatoes. And some people don't like it. Some people do. I don't really care what your feelings are on Rotten Tomatoes. But what I have started doing is taking movies that I enjoy, that I consider good movies, putting them into Rotten Tomatoes, and then reading the bad reviews of the movie that I thought was good. And so today's movie is a little film that my son, actually the whole family, watched last night, called John Q. Okay? It's got Denzel Washington in it. It is the story of a boy who has a bad heart and a mom and dad that have blue-collar jobs with bad insurance, and the hospital will not perform the heart transplant on this boy because of the insurance company's policies and the hospital's policies in dealing with that. And so this man who has done everything, sold everything that he has, asked for money from strangers, asked for the church to help him, asked for the hospital to help him, filled out all the programs that the government asked, And still, the hospital wants to turn this kid away, knowing that that's a death sentence for this child. And Denzel Washington plays the father in this and says, well, no. And so he takes over the emergency room of the hospital, chains it up, and is basically playing chicken with the hospital to try to get them to get his son's name on the donor list. And one of the people that he kidnaps in the emergency room is the heart transplant doctor. And so, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, you should. But, it ends where they're not going to be able to do this. And so, the decision is made by Denzel to be like, well, you just take my heart then. And so Denzel was going to commit suicide, shoot himself for that doctor to remove his heart and put it in his son's body. And very powerful movie. If you get drawn in on it, it's a tearjerker. It's, and I bet people hate it. So that's what we do. I love it. It's got 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. And 78% from the audience. So I don't want to read the reviews from the damn whoever the critics think that they are, like the top critics. I will read the bad reviews from the audience. I like to do that. So we're gonna go down here. Like I said, it's got a 78. So this person, Michael B, says I hit my head on a rock this morning, so I thought it was really good. They gave it 1 star. That's not even a great bad review, dude. Like, put a little effort in it. There's a lot of good reviews here. Come on. Sort of like Die Hard meets Grey's Anatomy. And yeah, as comparison suggests, it's not great, but it is earnest and does try. And its essential social critique is unfortunately still relevant 20 years later. There you go. No, if we're getting a little... The storm might be... I think the internet broke because I searched for John Q, and I'm the first one that's done it. So, that might be the only review we get. Bad internet out here. Come on. Now we got it. 2 stars from Russell S. I get the feeling, like many movies, if you are an educated viewer who likes a dash of realism and something more from a script rather than just all action all the time, this movie will frustrate you. Looking through the reviews, it seems like there are a lot of Denzel fans who are willing to overlook a ton of plot holes, poor secondary characters, and a lot of ham-fisted, in-your-face, over-the-top, cliched social commentary. There are very few actors who could have made this film watchable. And thankfully, for the makers of the movie, they found one in Denzel who acts his ass off and does make it entertaining enough for a Tuesday night pizza movie. But he's the lone saving grace. It was one of the most ridiculously predictable plots with the most ridiculously stereotypical characters to come out of the early 2000s. All doctors and hospital administrators are bad guys until just the right emotional heartstring is tugged. All the hostages are so willing to overlook the fact that they are being held at gunpoint by someone who has threatened to kill one of them in an hour that they would completely dismiss several chances to escape or end the crisis because the guy holding them hostage seems like a good guy. The police chief is uber loved by his subordinates, but he's an a-hole that would kill John Q after entirely ignoring the police negotiator, who is the joke of the force, yet is 100% more likable than the chief in every single way. Yeah, okay, the crowd outside the hospital is so over-the-top supportive of John Q's, despite the fact they can't see the TV coverage, so they would have no context as to why this guy has taken hostages. The victim and The two doctors and nurse can somehow operate a gunshot victim and are ready to perform both ends of a heart transplant with no anesthesiologist or support staff in an ER's operating room. Come on! I guess if you're willing to entirely suspend all sense of reality, this movie is awesome. Otherwise, it will pass for a waste of an evening. Damn, Russell. Damn, Russell. Oh, I totally agree. It is, you have to know that the plot holes, you know, that's it. That's fine. They're there. You watch it because you believe Denzel and this son. You know what I mean? That's the only reason you watch it. Don't want to. Some of these people take themselves way too seriously. Most of these people love the movie. Well acted, but focuses too much on preaching to the audience than letting the audience contemplate things on their own. Well, yeah, when a hospital is turning down a heart surgery that would save an 8-year-old boy, you know, that's kind of what is there to contemplate? I think if you think that's the right decision, you're a douchebag. Pure left-wing propaganda. Don't watch, as it is riddled with lies, anti-gun, anti-Republican nonsense. Wow, Kenneth. Yeah. Make America great again, dude. There you go. All right. Wasted cast on this slow, unconvincing TV movie wannabe? I disagree. Come on. I'll buy you a steak. This is possibly one of the worst film scripts ever made. They took a serious matter, based to some degree, in fact, and reduced it to bad comedy. Some of the reputable actors in this film must have owed some favors. A mediocre hostage drama with a message delivered with all the subtlety of a bazooka is only validated by Denzel Washington's strong performance. Guys, Denzel Washington's in like 95% of the scenes of this movie. If he gives a strong performance, the movie's strong. You know, I'm sorry that you don't like the fact that he's passionate. That's the one thing that I think that if you're a father of a boy, you connect with. No, I get father of a girl too, because I felt, you know, looking at both my kids, I would, if you get forced into this situation, it may seem like you're irrational or over the top on how you're acting, but you will be irrational and over the top when faced with that decision, when faced with the mortality of one of your children, dude. You're going to do some stuff and act in a way that is like a bazooka, especially when all resources are gone, when there is no other way. And the part where people think that you can compromise, if there is a solution, if getting a kid's name on a list or taking the dad's heart and putting in the kid is an option, to think that somebody wouldn't fight for those final options for their kid. I think that's the part that I like the most about the movie. It's like there is no part where I'm going to say, all right, I'll accept it. I'll accept that my kid can die when there are still options on the table. If there's still an option on the table, then you can't accept it. You know, I think even when all options are gone, it's unacceptable. You know, sometimes life forces you to, you know, sometimes things happen and there's everything that can be done is tried and you try to do it, but it just didn't work. And then you just have to try to get through it the rest of your life, which you'd never do. So in that, you have to be over dramatic in something that's such, in a film like this, I guess, with the content that they're dealing with. So anyways, it's a great movie. Clearly, there's always people that here, we'll read this person's. Maybe they do a better job than me. This is the movie about real life, about real people. This could happen with anybody, even if you think that you are insured. Who are we? Homo sapiens, zombies, slaves of the god, fellows, people? Never mind. We are mortals. This is 100% true. We are human beings with minds and hearts. Keep this legacy all your time. This is very important to remember. Oh, maybe they don't do a good job. Oh, he does say sorry for his English. He might be one of them yogurt eaters I was talking about earlier. So anyways, it's a good movie. I mean, it come out freaking 2002, so if you haven't seen it, I doubt you will, but if you like Denzel, which is, as I said on yesterday's show, is basically just a black Kevin Costner. I kind of put them, we like them being themselves in every role. You know, we don't suspend disbelief that they're not Denzel Washington or Kevin Costner. We just, Tom Hanks kind of falls in that too. You don't watch a Tom Hanks movie and be like, I totally forgot that he wasn't Tom Hanks. You just say, oh, that's Tom Hanks playing Sully or playing Castaway. You know, the only one that Tom Hanks sometimes is Forrest Gump, and sometimes I think that Forrest Gump is how Tom Hanks really is, and all the other times it's just Forrest Gump acting. I think that's how I feel about Tom Hanks a lot of the time. So, anyways, check it out if you haven't. And if you guys like the show, consider supporting the show or consider at least subscribing to the show. It's free. Leave us a review. Get on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Hit subscribe. It's free. It's a daily show. Get on YouTube and subscribe to Conradio, and you can watch this live from the shed. And you can watch us live as we're driving from town to town, selling tacos and doing a show called the OK Taco Show. And you can listen to our show on Friday live on Conradio, also called Those Guys from Wichita. So we got a lot of stuff out there. So just consider helping out and subscribing. With that being said, have an okay day, and don't let your meat loaf.